This is real good. These are worth spending the extra, the extra double the money just so you can have a better unboxing experience. So these are not Chinese made, these are made in Denmark. It's got the manual that's useless, but it's pretty. Let's take these guys. That's legit. Actually, I'm going to keep these. The woofers are usually a little dusty in the box. It's funny, as you go up the line, the unboxing gets a little more sophisticated. So like the Special 40s have a little bit more, and the Heritage have a little bit more, and the Contours have a little bit more. A little more protection. Like these felt bags, these aren't branded, but the other ones in the Special 40s are. Yeah. Shoot. Don't do that. Pull that sucker off. You take this guy off. All right, here we go. All right, it's getting a bit ridiculous in here in the OG studio, but I'm just kind of gathering my thoughts here as I turn the camera on, and I was thinking my immediate thought, my immediate reaction to Dynaudio Evoke is like, this is it. Like, this is the aspiration. Yeah, we can go higher up the line. We can go to Special 40. We can go to Heritage. We can go to Confidence. We can go to higher end speakers. But for whatever reason, this to me feels like, OG Ultimate Edition for the garage and, the 20s, the Evoke 20s. But we're going to talk about these today and just sort of tell you what I think about them. This isn't designed to be a reading off of specifications. I do know quite a bit about these, but I'm approaching this more of a rather than like an audio salesman, and more of what do I know about this that I think is important that you would want to know in order to buy a set of speakers. So to start off, to address the elephant in the room, and that's we've got a $1,600. $2,200, and then I got a pair of 30s floor standing, which don't make as much sense for the garage behind me here. I think they're $3,500 or something like that. So we're talking about just the speakers, no wires, no amplifier, no streaming device, no TV, no HDMI cables, and all of that stuff. So you're starting off pretty significantly in the hole in this mid-end, bookshelf place. So to address the elephant in the room, why would you spend that much money on a speaker that's going to be sitting in a rather harsh environment, the garage? And I've said this 20 times now in all these various audio videos that I've been making. Yes, the garage is a poor acoustic environment. Yes, you can't just throw expensive equipment at a problem, which is the room. But I think if you do it right and you choose the right combination of products, I think we can overcome at least enough of the acoustic deficiencies of your garage, and that is concrete and plastic and metal cabinets, and just not a great environment for audio and acoustics. I think we can overcome that by, like I said, the right combination of stuff, the right equipment. And I think that this blonde wood or walnut wood, this Evoke 20 with a stout amplifier is the way to go in the garage if you can swing it with a subwoofer. And so let's talk a little bit about these, talk about pros and cons. I don't know that there are many cons other than the cost of this, but I'm absolutely smitten in love with these speakers. I can't get enough of them. It actually pains me. These blondes were in my garage at my house. These were going to be the speaker until I got a pair of the $7,000 Heritage Specials, which are in there now, which are better than these, but they're 2.5 times the price. And I'm only doing that because this is what I do for a living, and I get to buy these pretty inexpensively. I get to buy these direct from the manufacturer because they want you to own their stuff, so that way you know how to talk about it. Otherwise, these would be the speakers. If I wasn't selling speakers, this right here, of all the speakers I've been talking to you about, this is the speaker that goes in my garage. Blonde wood, Evoke, and an NAD amplifier of some sort. Actually, it would be a C388 is what I'd put in my garage. So you have two different versions. This just comes simply down to how much money you got, how much are you willing to spend, how much do you value audio in the garage. Evoke 10s have the same, they both have the same tweeter. So this is the Ceratar tweeter designed specifically for the Evoke, which is derived from the Confidence Ceratar 3. So all of these, they're hand sort of built drivers that are built in Denmark by Dynaudio. These are manufactured in Denmark. I think they have a made in Denmark. There's a little badge here, which we probably can't pick up on camera, but it says made in, well, cut that part out. It says made in China. I thought these were made in Denmark. That's interesting. Well, keep that part in. This one is made in China. This is made in Denmark. Interesting. Let me see. What is up with that? That's weird. So the blonde wood, made in Denmark. The walnut wood, made in China. So it says, well, that's an interesting fact that we just figured out on camera here. We'll leave that in. Yeah, it says Dynaudio AS, and whatever that's, Svenjevez, whatever that, Skanderborg, Denmark. So this one says made in Denmark. There's a little badge here that says made in Denmark. And then this is identical. A little bit different wood, a little bit different grain. This one has a made in China badge. And this one says designed and engineered in Denmark by Dynaudio, made in China. Now, does that make me like the blonde wood even more? I don't know that I care. I learn something new every day here. I'm gonna have to ask Dynaudio about that, what the reasoning for that is. I'm sure I'll do a follow-up on that. Well, that's as real as it gets there, folks. I'm just about to talk trash. The other interesting thing to note, which Mike behind the camera here pointed out, is that the Evoke 10s are actually a little bit different shades. So the walnut wood is a little darker here on the Evoke 20s, on the bigger version. So they put, one of the things I like about this is the screwless design. It's basically just there's probably, I haven't pulled this off, but there's a two-sided tape on here that holds this trim piece in place. Now there is some metal in here because we are able to, as I unboxed it, you are able to magnetically attach your tweeter protector, and I just think I think that it looks really good. Now, the cores and the LYDs, the studio monitors, they have, you can see the exposed screw holes. I think that looks attractive as well. But something about the style of like this speaker here, like what that looks like on cameras is pretty incredible. Looks great. So both the 10s and the 20s have they're a rear bass or a bass reflex rear ported design. And so the port's on the top, and so there's bracing inside of the cabinet. These are all real wood. I don't believe this is any sort of veneer. This is a real wood. You don't see any seams, so it's a seamless, contained, really freaking amazing looking design. I'm shocked that this is Chinese manufactured. Now, I'm assuming that that Dynaudio either owns their own facility in China, or they have some sort of exclusive relationship, or they have some manufacturing partners to help make this stuff, make it more efficiently, and make it more available, and make it less costly for us. Then frankly, I would just pull that Made in China badge off there and not really care, because these things sound incredible. The binding posts are also pretty traditional, pretty normal. These actually, from what I can tell, the binding post, or the sort of the thing that closes up the back of the speaker here, that allows access to the crossover and all of that. This particular section here is the same as you have on the Emits, which are the more affordable line. But I'm telling you, you get your hands on these, they feel different than the Emits, which I actually just reviewed or just talked about in this room earlier today. So Evoke, like I said, Evoke is roughly double the cost, or double the retail, a little bit more than double the retail of the Emit line, but the fit and finish is on a completely different level, and I will tell you, they sound completely different. They still have that same smooth sound signature that that I love Dynaudio so much for, and that's that secret recipe for putting audio in the garage. It helps to overcome a lot of the deficiencies of the room. But obviously the Evoke 20s are going to sound a little bit bigger, have a little bit more bottom end, but there is a pretty transparent, pretty significant difference. I'm not sure why. I think it probably has to do with something, how they cross these over and what they're hoping to accomplish. I think Dynaudio is getting more competitive in listening to other speakers, and so the more affordable, smaller, easier to fit Evoke 10s, I prefer the way the 20s sound much better. The thing that doesn't make a lot of sense to me is you have a bigger woofer here, so we have a 5.5-inch woofer versus a roughly 7-inch. So this is a 14 centimeter versus an 18 centimeter woofer. So this is like 7.08. This is 5.5 and change, 5.52 or something like that. If you just take the 18 centimeters divided by 2.54, and you get your inch equivalent. But this bigger speaker with bigger woofer is crossed over much higher. If I remember correctly, this is crossed over around 3,200 hertz. And I think this is in the 2,000 range. And so we're actually asking this bigger woofer to play higher up frequency response. These both have second order crossovers. I'm not a crossover expert, but to me, when you get into third, fourth order crossovers, from what I understand, the more orders, the more inductor and capacitors that they have. So think an inductor is a high pass and a capacitor is a low pass filter. But when you start to add second or third orders, you have basically additional pairs of inductors and capacitors. The more you have, generally, the more jumbling of the audio you're going to do. And so think of it like I've always had, I had a professor when I was in electrical engineering school to sort of explain it to me that if you have, the more orders you have, so the more you start to add complexity to a crossover, the more, like if you had a paragraph, and what happens is that every time it runs through a section or an order of the crossover, you're adding letters, and in some instances you're flipping letters over, and so you're able to hear the music, but the music is being altered from the way it was originally intended. For example, the Dynaudio Heritage, the Heritage Special, the 7,000 pair of speakers has a first order crossover. These all have a second order crossover. And so when you improve or decrease the amount of filtering in a crossover, the more reliant you are on the quality of the components, the MSP woofer, the Ceratar tweeter, the Heritage Special has the woofer from a really expensive speaker, and the tweeter from the Confidence line, and so they're reliant on the driver to do most of the work and letting crossover do less. And so the interesting thing on Evokes is Evokes have a second order crossover. The baby brother to these, the emits, have a first order on the tweeter, second order on the woofer. I'd like to someday get some more clarification on Dynaudio and why they do that. Dynaudio doesn't spend a lot of time. They sort of market. They tell you this is a magnesium silica polymer woofer. And they do tell you a little bit about, like a lot of times they'll use things like, they'll use aluminum in the voice coil rather than copper because it's lighter. They'll do things like that, and they'll generally tell us that, but they don't tell us exactly what each driver is, and that's probably to protect some of their proprietary stuff. Like for instance, these tweeters are silk dome, but they have some sort of proprietary coating on them to what they say to help remove unwanted high frequencies and unwanted distortion from this silk dome thing. So when I'm hooking these speakers up, I'm going to want to follow suit. I think in order to get your money's worth, and especially if we're in a garage, it's not a great environment. The more power, the better. Now these are rated to handle, it says right on the back of the thing, 160 watts, 180 watts. These are 6 ohm speakers, so be careful with the amplifier you choose. But I think the more the merrier. The more power you can get to these things, the more open, the better mid bass, the better bottom end, the less harshness and high frequencies you're going to get. And in a perfect world, you have the ability to do some room calibration or correction as well, doing some Dirac tuning. I'll have some more videos coming up with what you would want to support these, but as I'd mentioned earlier, if I wasn't doing this for a living, wasn't selling speakers to you, wasn't designing garages, and I was just buying things retail from the store, I'd be buying Evoke 20s in blonde wood with a NAD C388, which I think is $2,100, a C388 amplifier or digital analog converter DAC amplifier, and I'd be running Tidal right from my phone natively on the Blue OS operation from that NAD device. That's what I'd be doing. That's exactly how I would do it. Now, we are going to be special ordering speakers. I'm not going to stock these, at least not yet, but we are going to be special ordering Evoke 30s and 50s. Same thing with any of the speaker lines. I am authorized to sell Contour. We're not authorized to put Contour online. I think I'm like one of 4 online retailers for Dynaudio speakers, or have gotten approval to do that. So floor standers are something that, in a garage, if you have a seating area, or you have an area where you have room to put speakers next to your cabinet, I would highly encourage it. I prefer floor standing speakers. If you have room for them, let's do them. In the garage, again, it doesn't make as much sense, but none of this does. But I did make a separate video, so make sure to go check that out on the Evoke 50s. But these are the Evoke 30s. So basically take an Evoke 10, and just put an extra woofer and a much larger enclosure. These will play down to roughly 40 hertz, where these are going to play somewhere in the 50s, depending on what octave we're talking about here. But these have two 14 centimeter or two 5.5 inch woofers, and then the single Seritar woofer. Tweeter, and then you can see from the case. This is the gloss white example. Now, if you're going to do this in the garage, or you're going to do this in an area where your wife or somebody else, a cleaning person, is wiping your speakers down all the time, first of all, read them, their last rites, and tell them not to do that. Tell them, otherwise you're going to be reading them their last rites. But if you are inclined to wipe your speakers off often, do not get gloss black, especially in the garage. I've had gloss black speakers in the garage. You can polish this. It's a lacquer finish. I think it might be a clear coated lacquer finish, but I would highly suggest that you consider getting a different color. So these are 3 of the 4. I just haven't gotten any gloss black ones. They're nowhere to be found here in the US right now with our 2021 supply chain issues, but gloss white, walnut wood, blonde wood are 3 of the 4, and then of course gloss black, which would be very similar to this. Let's see about these. Where are these made? Yep, these are made in China as well. Oh, that's funny, because there's a made in China sticker and a made in Denmark on the speaker binding post. We're gonna have to clarify that. So this is the Evoke 30, which I'm a huge fan of. I tend to be a person that I've never actually bought the mid-tier speaker. I've had, so go back to like the Klipsch reference that I had. I always bought the RPF whatever 5s, and I would never buy the 3. And then I ended up with a Klipsch KLF. They made a KLF 10, KLF 20, KLF 30. I bought the KLF 30. And then I got Monitor Audio, a gold reference, and there's a Monitor Audio GR10 and GR20. I had a GR20. And then I've had, basically, a dozen speakers along the way. Right now I have Contour 60s in my living room, which would be the big brother to this. They make a Contour 30. I would always choose the 60. So the 30 we're definitely going to special order. I do have this set here, but I would encourage you, might as well, if we're going to go for it, let's just spend the extra $1,500 and go big. Get the 50. I guess this exists more for price point than anything. So the Evokes do not come with any sort of feet. I've actually taken and just put on some furniture feet on the bottom of here, and especially if you're going to be putting it directly on a countertop, or in my case I'm sliding them around for the video here and I don't want to mess them up. For instance, the ones over here I don't have any furniture. I just unboxed these. I have them sitting on the manual. I don't think you want to mess up your wood finish. I will tell you that as you work your way up the Dynaudio line, when you're unboxing, the unboxing experience becomes, I would say, exponentially more rewarding. I just unboxed some Contour 60s last night. The Contour 60s come in a wooden crate. The Contour bookshelves come in a double box. These come in a double box, but the Contours come with like Dynaudio branded wrapping around them, and just have a little bit more unique unboxing experience. As you work your way up the line, I feel like it gets more sophisticated. To me, it'd be worth it buying Evoke 20s over Emit 10s just because the unboxing experience is a little bit better. So, and I'm a professional unboxer, as you can tell. I've actually unboxed all of these speakers. We'll then have to sell them at a discount because they're open box, just so that I can make this video for you and take a few photos for the site. I was adamant that I did not want to just take stock photos like everybody else does. I'll buy every one of these speakers so that we can take photos and get them for you. But I'm telling you, unboxing a set of Evoke 20s will change your life, especially if you've never done it before, something fancy. Last thing I'll mention is setup. like I said, we'll have some more sophisticated videos on actual, what you should power these with, what I think sound best with, what sort of amplifier. These have multiple way binding posts. You could bring in bare wire by unscrewing all the way. You also have a banana connection, which I actually prefer on Dynaudio's for whatever reason. They're binding posts. They will accept a spade connection, which is a superior connection, but I would prefer banana on these speakers. So if you take a look at, this is a Metro Velux, which I'm a big fan of these. Really, it's relatively inexpensive. They're a few $100 for these cables. We do stock and sell these. But a banana connection gives you 360 degrees of surface area and would install like so, making it nice, quick, and easy. But the most superior type of connection, which gives you the most conductive surface area, would be a spade connector. And so with a spade connector, you'd unscrew this. It looks like a fork, and then forks onto the binding post. They do work. I just tell you that on the choice of binding posts, even the higher end versions of the Dynaudio stuff, with their bigger, more bulky binding posts, these actually, even on those, I think that the banana connection works best. So Evoke 10 right now today at the end of 2021, I'd expect prices to rise at some point here. I hope not, but they will. But the end of 2021, it's December 1st, 2021 when I'm shooting this video. These are $15.99 a pair, and these are $21.99 a pair. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going from memory here, but the 30s are $34.99 a pair, and the 50s are $49.99 a pair. I think they're appropriately priced. I think that these are well worth every penny you spend on them. I don't feel like you're getting a deal from buying them, but the fit, finish, quality, even when you take and look at how the grills work, how they're magnetized and they fit flush in the front of the speaker, the way that they come in a double box, and how they're of course how they perform, how they sound. I kind of glossed over that on this video. How Evoke 20 sound in the garage with an N80 C388 or any decently powered receiver is really good. So I would, as much as I love the studio monitors, like the Chorus, I'd choose these with a stout amplifier and a nice subwoofer any day. And the most surprising of all of my product testing and searching for speakers for my garage, which now I'm imparting that knowledge on you, is if you pair these with a Dynaudio Sub 6, the dual 9-inch woofer that plays down to 16 hertz, you've got yourself a darn magical combination. So hit me up, matt@obsessedgarage.com, if you have some questions. If you have some audio specific stuff, I'll help you set these up. If you want to set these up in your house, forget the garage, you want to put these in your house, I'll help you with that too. Or you want to build a home theater. My home theater is all Dynaudio Contour and then Studio Series in walls. With the Sub 6, with their subwoofer, I freaking love it on a NAD system, NAD Masters system. My dream is to get a set of the Confidence, the big giant Confidence 60s, which are like 7 feet tall. I'd love to get those someday. They're right now I think they're $45,000 a pair. Even at a significant accommodation discount, they're still out of reach for me at this point. But the Dynaudio stuff has been a pursuit of mine since I was a child, it seems. I've loved them since I first heard them in I think it was an S2000 kick panel in the year 2000. So I was 20 years old, and have loved them ever since, and have never had the opportunity to sell them in my years of selling home theater, never had the opportunity to buy them. Now I own every speaker that they make outside of the Confidence stuff. I intend to get those, and I'm glad that I can now impart some of my love for it onto you. And I think that most of you who are looking for a smooth, flat, great sounding speaker for your garage or even your home, I think this is the way to go. So hit me up if I can help with that, matt@obsessedgarage.com. If you want us to design your garage, design@obsessedgarage.com. If you want us to do your flooring and cabinets and audio, and then support obsessedgarage.com. Manny, Tommy, and the tech support team knows a lot about this stuff as well. They've watched all these videos. They've got to listen to a lot of these speakers, so they have a solid take on what you might want for your garage. So thanks for your support, and I know this is a bit nuts, and I know we're getting into territory that's flirting with insanity, but that's what we do here. Do average elsewhere. That's the motto. The pursuit of functional excellence is what we do, and this is about as good as it gets. Thanks for your support. See you soon.
Is that we have two cabinet factories. We have one in China and one in Denmark. And the reason for this was, the China factory was to serve the Pacific Rim, obviously, since it's a logistics thing. Mm-hmm. And Denmark was to serve the Western world. The problem is that the factory in Denmark was overwhelmed, not having enough production capacity, overwhelmed last year. So we started pulling finished product from China.
Got it.
So it's really, nobody would ever know the difference between the two. You could not spot a difference. It's absolutely identical. The fact is, like you said, the drivers and crossovers are made in Denmark. It's just a cabinet, really. But when you do the final assembly in China, it has to say made in China.
Got it.
Yeah,
and then
those silly things.
And so the drivers, like the Seratar tweeter and the MSP woofer, they're made in Denmark?
Correct.
And then the other thing I noticed, so I have a set. So I have a set of 20 Evoke 20 walnut and a set of Evoke 10 walnut, and they're different colors. which is interesting. It's like one is a lighter walnut and the other is a darker walnut. Probably just when they were produced and who they were stained by, I would guess.
Well, but it's also a real walnut, so
Yeah.
you got to keep in mind, obviously, that it's going to vary from piece to piece and production lot to production lot.
Yep, got it.
Yeah, so I have seen, on average, I've seen more consistency sort of in that middle realm, that medium tonality, but I have seen some pretty significant variations.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of cool that it's that way, but it was interesting that I was looking at the speaker and I'm in mid-discussion, and then I turn it around and say, see, it says made in Denmark, and it says made in China. I'm like, hold on, what's going on here?
About that.
Let me
it was important for us to fill the supply chain more than it was, more than what is said on the the box, and we've had kickback. Of course, you're going to have kickback from a lot of people who say they would never buy in China. But so the goal is probably by the middle of 2022 to have additional production up and running in Denmark. Actually, it had been talked about Poland, having a cabinet factory in Poland to help supplement the factory in Denmark. So
got it.
But that's mid 2022 is when that's supposed to all come back to Denmark.
Cool. Last question: crossover in Evoke versus crossover in Emit. So Emit and Evoke. So does the Emit and Evoke have the same woofer, or the woofer's different?
Woofers are different. The only thing that they share is the tweeter.
Tweeter's the same. Obviously, the enclosure, the cabinet's different. The crossover's different. So the Emit is denoted as a first order on the. So it would have a single, I guess, inductor on the tweeter, and then has a second order crossover on the woofer. Versus Evokes have a single second order crossover for both woofer and tweeter. Any insight on that? Or am I getting too in the weeds here?
It was an engineering choice based on the driver technology and the engineer that was behind it. So obviously Evoke came before the current Emit, and Evoke uses second order crossover and even third order crossovers. Like the Evoke 50 has a combination of second and third order crossover. The Emit uses first order, and it's a combination of.
It's first and second, according to the documentation. Yeah,
and even a fourth order. I think in the 50 has the fourth order on the base.
You're right. Yeah. And then the interesting thing that's really baffling is that Evoke 20 crosses over like 1,200 hertz higher than an Evoke 10, and it has a much larger woofer. So
it is bizarre, and I had asked one of our head engineers about that, and he said that was a choice by the lead engineer that was on that project, Danielle Monts. That was his decision. I never got an answer as to why they did that, but
I would assume it's just the sound, combination of enclosure, the cabinet, the design, and how it sounds. That's encouraging to me. Yeah, cool.
But it boils down to, we call the Emit the Emit was developed from what we learned with the Evoke, and consequently the current Contour I series was also developed from what we learned with the Evoke. It's interesting. All of which, all of the current Emit, Evoke, Contour I, and Confidence was really the initial driver development was on the previous Contour 20, 30, and 60, and 25. That's when we started this new driver design, maintaining materials that we've always used, but kind of thinking outside the box with slightly smaller voice coils, much more robust motor structures, longer throw, on the woofers. And it's been a continual development. So after that original Contour series, then we developed the Evoke, right? Yep. Using the same design philosophies, but improving. And then the Evoke was so close to that Contour, they're like, oh crap, we got to update Contour. So they implemented in the Contour I some of the things that we learned in Confidence and Evoke, And then we developed the Emit series, that was just the last one, obviously, and kept the same tweeter as the Evoke, but developed new drivers that are a trickle down from the Evoke. Just we had some compromises, obviously, because of the price
cost. Sure. Yep. Awesome.
So instead of a cast basket, we have stamped baskets on the woofers, and some other things. But as a whole, I think what you'll find with the crossover differences between the Emit and the Evoke is, quite honestly, especially on like the Emit 50, that's a really fun, punchy, bassy speaker, whereas the Evoke 50 is a little bit more reserved. It certainly is dynamically capable, but it's a little more reserved, and I think requires a more robust amplifier to get out of what you want to get out of it.
Well, I'll order those later and play with them after I get through all these.
They're fun. It's the Evoke. It's funny because, like I said, the Evoke series was so good that the engineers are like, oh crap, we need to do something with Contour now because the Evoke is so darn close to Contour. So then this new development with Contour I was huge. It really just completely changed the dynamics of the Contour series.
So that answers our questions. Thanks.